There are few mangakas who have multiple masterpieces. There's usually one manga that overshadows the rest, which is understandable because it's usually a life's work. But then you got someone like Naoki Urasawa, who simply does not miss.
Let's talk about 20th Century Boys.
Okay,
because that is actually a good manga.
Okay, this is my favorite manga of all time.
It's brilliant.
I've never read this. I've been wanting to read this. I've actually got it downloaded, ready to read.
Everything by Urasawa Naoki
I can give you the manga volume.
There are 2 to 3 major titles that I had known prior to this video. The work that put him on the map, which was Monster, and his recent acclaimed work in 21st and 20th Century Boys. He is no doubt one of the greatest to ever create. But there was a shorter work that I was unaware of prior to his recent Netflix adaptation. Pluto. A story about robots, but it makes you question more about humanity than most other works will. It's named after the Roman interpretation of Hades, god of the underworld. That dark title is very like Urasawa. He is known for the intensity that he creates through iconic characters like Johann Lieber. Even if you haven't seen this psychological thriller, which I highly recommend, I'm sure you've seen that profile pic. And trust me, there's a reason that those people are as ruthless as they are. You do not want to get on their bad side. And in Pluto, he follows suit. It's a dark reimagination of Astro Boy, with a version of him named Adam. Osamu Tezuka is an inspiration to all in the anime world, and that includes Urasawa. There's likely a reason that the main character of his series Monster is named Dr. Tenma, like in the legendary 60s anime. But before I get into the lore of Astro Boy and its inspiration, I'll give a brief rundown about the story of Pluto. The setting is a world where robots live alongside humans. Amongst this society, there are 7 of the most advanced robots, also known as war heroes. But heroes only in quotes, because they were used by the government to win a war that was against their own kind. Due to the advancements, they have a sense of feeling. They can imitate guilt and even sadness, and in many cases are more human than the humans themselves. But even though the war has ended, someone or something is hunting these robots down, alongside any humans who had advocated for the robots along the way. We follow Detective Gessit? Who happens to be one of these 7 robots, and tries to figure out who the murderer is. It's Blade Runner meets Seven meets Monster meets Full Metal Jacket, all wrapped in the Astro Boy world. It follows all the effects of war and mixes it in with the coexistence of robots, a story as old as the first TV anime in Japan, which is no coincidence. Instead, like I said, exactly what this work is based on. Now, if you want to know the full lore of Astro Boy, there's a great video here in which you will walk through the timeline. And if you want to compare it yourself, Pluto is specifically based on the chapter of Astro Boy named The Greatest Robot on Earth. But in simple terms, Astro Boy is a pioneer of anime and manga. It gained immense fame at the time, which transcended to modern day. You see hints of it in plenty of anime, and there was even a movie with Nick Cage in it, but kinda flopped. Regardless, there's a reason why Osamu Tezuka is labeled as the godfather of manga itself. He not only sparked the serialization of anime, but the topics such as discrimination and intolerance, which Pluto does an amazing job of displaying. Within the first episode, we are introduced to an endless amount of themes: the coexistence of robots and humans, the endless effects of war, such as what we're fighting for and dealing with PTSD, and of course, the murder mystery, with a powerful and smart villain that keeps us on our toes. I really did not expect this when going into it. I don't know if there was a lack of marketing or what it was, but I had yet to hear about the Netflix adaptation of one of my favorite mangakas and objectively one of the greatest mangakas of all time. Maybe because it wasn't animated by MAPPA, which it's about time. We've seen such a monopoly in adaptations, which even lead to some terrible news. So this is a little detail that makes me all the more proud for how great this anime turned out to be. Shout out to Studio M2. The immersion in this story is a skill that none other than Urasawa can create. In Monster we had Dr. Tenma, and in Pluto we have Gessit. As we follow the detective, we follow the lives of those affected. The robots who lost their loved ones, the humans who spite the existence of robots, and those who fall in between. One of those was a music composer named Paul Duncan. He starts off exactly how he looks, a grumpy rich old man. Even though he's blind, he acts like he sees and knows everything. No matter what this robot butler named North Number 2 attempts to do, is to no avail. Soon enough, we find out this butler wasn't just any other robot, but one of the 7 war heroes. But like I said, heroes is only a term given to them, as killing their own kind in masses cannot feel less heroic. They didn't even know what they were fighting for, and it's no coincidence that the Vietnam War took place around 1960, as it echoes in Astro Boy and in turn Pluto as well. As we see more of this dynamic, we learn how human these robots can be. The composer was trying to recover his past while the robot was trying to get as far away from his as possible, but they needed each other to do that. The reality of it was sweet, but I wondered what life would be like, as the robot should outlive the old man. But then the attack happened, and as Paul Duncan, formerly known as Paul Holy, sat there waiting for North Number 2, the dying robot sang the one song that meant the most to Paul after all.
ノース2号が歌っている。ノース2号、ピアノの練習の時間だぞ。
This story is just the start. The world allows for endless themes, as there's a reason we've seen so many stories about AI and human civilization. And murder mystery is my personal favorite. I love the constant suspense and even more, the psychological factors that really get into your brain. I myself have only gotten through 2 episodes at this point, but I know I'll be finishing it 100%. This is an anime I actually want to take my time with. Of course, it's also an hour episode, which look, I know you want to run away already, but this is basically like a 16 to 20 episode anime if you want to think of it time-wise. And usually Netflix annoys me with the 1 hour lengthy episodes, but not this time. I never feel like time is wasted, and instead it helps to flesh out the characters throughout. Finally, I need to reiterate how grateful I am for adaptations of classics like Pluto. Now, even though I was unaware of Pluto, people had been praising this for a long time, and usually these levels of manga will not get picked up. Not only is the animation connected to both the pioneer of anime itself, but one of the greatest mangakas to ever do it, so there's more pressure than ever. But it's also a great opportunity, which we've seen studios fumble, but not this time. Studio M2 and Netflix worked together to create this beauty of a work, which I could not be more grateful for. And I also hope they do it with some other classics. As much as I love current anime, and I can praise them for hours, these are the type of works that solidified this medium for me. To balance such dark topics with visual and auditory levels that I've only seen in movies, and to then take it a step further with iconic protagonist or antagonist with understandable motives, Naoki Urasawa's works solidified the medium for me, and Pluto continues to be the reason why I love anime and manga, and it's exactly why you should go check it out.